So, Amita, you were telling me one time you had dengue fever.
Yeah, I had dengue fever, and there was a dance program scheduled for the 15th of August. On the 14th or 13th of August, I forget.
And you were part of the dance.
I had to take part.
Ah.
So I wrote to mother saying that there's still quite a lot of pain in the joints. They say that if I strain, those pains won't go. Mother wrote to me a very strong letter. She said, La force du divin est illimitée. The power of the divine is unlimited. Travaille pour le divin et tout ira bien. Work for the divine and everything will be all right. And I went and danced, and I'd completely forgotten that I had any joint pain or any fever. I completely forgot after the dance.
It can be done, of course.
Huh?
But one must have that faith.
And that I had from my childhood.
Yes.
I was like bred here. This was like my home. This, I think I have told you. I was only seven years old when I came here.
Yes.
And I loved flowers. And I saw that a great deal of importance was being given to flowers here. So immediately I adjusted myself to the place. I said, I'm going to stay here. And my parents were a little concerned. And we were here only for the August and the November darshan. You know darshan, that is, we saw Mother every day, but not Sri Aurobindo. And only on darshan days we would have their presence. A whole queue would go and pray to Mother, pray to Sri Aurobindo, and do pranam. So suddenly in the queue, I was only 7 years old, or maybe maximum 10. I don't remember which year it was. My father gave me an envelope
You told us about
with
this.
donation.
Yes.
I told you.
And you didn't know who to give it
yeah,
to.
where to put it.
Where to
And
put it.
then Parishanda, whoever was on duty, showed me in this box and the flower here. So, but I was just natural. And this also I told you, I think, that Sri Aurobindo said she likes beautiful things. When I didn't look at them, I went for darshan, I didn't look at Mother or Sri Aurobindo. I looked at the curtain, which was embroidered in silver thread and golden thread, a dragon. They had displayed it sometime. It was embroidered. It was shining and it was so beautiful. I did my namaskaram, but I looked. And I went away. And Sri Aurobindo told Mother she likes beautiful things.
Now today we have some poetry that I have selected for you to read by many different poets. Sri Aurobindo has praised Edward Carpenter. in his book, The Future Poetry.
And in his article, I think it is called Essay on Quantitative Meter, he has explained how in English the stress is counted, iambic, pentameter, and a pieced and all that. But there is another value, the value of the vowel sounds. The vowel sound is different in the A, E, I, O, U, A or A. Ask, I asked, I should see you at 10 a.m. You see, the two A's, he says they have a different weight. He calls it the weight of the quantitative, that's why quantitative meter, quantity. The I as I, island, Ireland, or is, this is. So the is, E of is, and I of I have a different weight. He calls it weight, quantity. It was my favorite essay. I read it quite a few. We have done carpenter in our English class with Tammy. A poem by Edward Carpenter. The Lake of Beauty. Let your mind be quiet, realizing the beauty of the world and the immense, the boundless treasures that it holds in store. All that you have within you, all that your heart desires, all that your nature so specially fits you for, that, or the counterpart of that, waits embedded in the great whole for you. It will surely come to you, yet equally, surely, not one moment before its appointed time will it come. All your crying and fever and reaching out of hands will make no difference. Therefore, do not begin that game at all. Do not recklessly spill the waters of your mind in this direction and in that, lest you become like a spring lost and dissipated in the desert. But draw them together into a little compass and hold them still, so still, and let them become clear, so clear, so limpid, so mirror-like. At last, the mountains and the sky shall glass themselves in peaceful beauty, and the antelope shall descend to drink and to gaze at his reflected image, and the lion to quench his thirst. And love himself shall come and bend over and catch his own likeness in you. By Edward Carpenter. So thin a veil, so thin a veil divides us from such joy past words, walking in daily life, the business of the hour, each detail seen to, yet carried, wrapped away on what sweet floods of other being. Swift streams of music flowing, light far back, through all creation shining, loved faces looking from the true, the mortal self. So thin a veil divides. Poem by J.A. Chadwick, known in the ashram as Arjava. From the dusky borderlands of sleep, from the dusky borderlands of sleep, I'd come, not empty-handed, but bearing strangely banded, odorous blooms, whose vague recesses keep echoes wheeling round. The faint, imprisoned sound from soft velvet beating wings that sweep in pale moth flight across the glimmering deep. Dream fragrances and patternings of trance, where the rich jeweled pinions gravely dance in that unhastening flight into the dim delight. Woven out of the gloom upon the starry loom of night.
Have you read Arjava's poems before?
I have read a few poems. They are, the word combinations are quite unexpected, and you have to read the poem twice or thrice to be able to get at it. But one can see that it is a true experience of his inner being. We had done in our English class Arjava, a few poems by Arjava.
Did you know him?
Tammy.
Did you know him, Arjava?
No. We had done quite a few recitations in front of the mother, and my very first recitation was long before 1950, so Sri Aurobindo also heard it. And it was, strangely enough, the prologue of the play Perseus the Deliverer. We had it as text in our English class, and we had done the prologue in detail. Then our principal, Shishir Mitra, Shishida, who had lived in Shantiniketan with Tagore and had been acquainted with different ideas of education as Tagore saw it And he used to always quote from Tagore to us, saying that Tagore used to say, geography is the stage and history, the story enacted on that stage. And he had the idea of the annual day. He told me, I was one of his students, and he liked my recitation. He didn't know that as a child I had read Baji Prabhu. And he asked one day in the classroom to each one of us recite something. So when my turn came, I said, we can recite what we like. He said, yes, whatever you want. So I recited most unexpectedly the passage from Baji Prabhu, not in this living net of flesh and nerve, nor in the flickering mind is a man's manhood seated. So he liked it very much, and from that annual day onwards, I've always participated in the annual days.
I do want to ask you, we can do this later, but it's a very, very important question. I understood that you and Tanmay had divided the educational system that Mother wanted. Can you tell me about your understanding of Mother's wish for education?
It's a very interesting and, in fact, pertinent question, because I was told when I was a child that I'd have to teach. I was only 12 years old, and I had to teach drawing to children of 9 or 10. I entered the classroom very smartly because I was a teacher, and the children were jumping up and down the benches. So the next morning I went to Mother. I said, Mother, I can't teach. Mother didn't listen to me at all. She said, Les enfants apprennent par leur corps. Children learn with their body. So, that is, if they do physically something, they understand. They don't understand through the mind, as we adults do. So she said, you will put 2 points on the floor, and each child will have to walk from one point to the other. Then you will ask them to go from one point to the other round your table. So on their paper, they had to put 2 points and draw how they went the first time and how they went the second time. So a curved line and a straight line was drawn, starting out the drawing class. Then a little boy of 9 said, I'm telling you, I know another way of doing it. I said, sure. At that time, the teacher's table was on a wooden platform. What he did, he went to the first point, jumped onto the platform and down, up and down, to the second point. I said, this is very good. This is another, as we call in French, broken line, ligne brisée. So that's how my teaching started. And 20 years or later, in 1975, Richard Pearson and I were asked by Mother to teach children. And in his book on education, Sri Aurobindo says that we mustn't give technical words to children. They learn with their body, they must experience it. And so, show them, this is not the exact words, but this is from Sri Aurobindo's book. If they have learned the details of a flower, you bring the next day a similar flower, and they'll remember everything. So what we did, their class was called Progress. So there's a flower, Vincadosia, called Progress. I took the mauve, the violet, light violet colored one, to them. And they said, yes, 5 petals. I said, you see, most flowers are circular. So I drew a circle on the board. I said, see the 5 petals and all that. The next day, I took the white flower to them. And imagine my surprise. One child pointed out that the stem of the white flower was more green than the stem of the mauve flower. I said, yes, it is true. And I understood, I didn't tell them that through osmosis, as the sap goes up, it carries the pigment. So the stem has a color, whereas the white has no color. So the pigment is white and the stem is more green. And I've never forgotten this lesson. There was another comment of Sri Aurobindo's that we had followed, and that they had to experience it with their own physical body. I wanted them to understand a map, the atlas. So we had to do a plan of the quadrangle of the school. So we went out of one gate and we went round, and we were coming, suddenly a child stopped me. Why are the row names in French? I was completely shocked because you can't tell a child of 10 or 11 that Pondicherry was under the French government. It is too difficult for them to understand. So I said, look at the flag on the government house. What is it? Indian tricolor. So they were very proud that it was the Indian flag. So I said, and look at the flag on the consulate, French consulate. Also 3 colors. I said, but they are vertical and colors are different. So that flag used to be on the government house. In those days, the French flag used to be on the government house, so the street names are in French. And they have been left in French. That was one of the trickiest questions I had to face. Another was this, I think I have said at another time not to you. If you had taught children at college level, why did you come down to the primary classes? For them it was a demotion. I said, Mother asked me to, and in front of them we were seeing the college students, college level students, individually at that time. So, Jugal Kishore Mukherjee, Jugal was in charge of the higher course. We call the college level higher course. He told me, you know, some students want to study with you French literature. So I said, I can't come in the mornings. Is it possible for you to send them in the afternoons? And then they can come to the school. So he arranged, and I saw the students individually in a small room right near the room of the children, where they were doing their assignments. One day, one of the little boys said, "May I come with you?" I said, "Yes, you can come. If you don't make any noise, it is all right for me." So he came and sat beside me while I was holding the individual class with the college level student of French literature. Now, I spoke French normally at that time. I imagine my surprise and amusement, and many people have been amused by this story. While coming out of the room, the child held my hand very sweetly and said, "In what language were you speaking?" We spoke very simple French with them. And here I spoke normal French. So he thought it was some other language. So he said, "Dans quelle langue tu parlais?" So I had to explain to him it was French. Because we decided to follow Sri Aurobindo, who had written, I think it is in chapter 7 of A National Value of, no, not art, System of National Education. And there we started showing one, I told you about the flower. A flower or a tree and a similar flower or a similar tree. And as they couldn't write full sentences in French, we asked them to make a chart. The two words I would write on the board so that there's no spelling mistake. And they wrote the two words, a crow, a sparrow. Similarities, differences. So similarity, both are birds. They fly in the sky and they have claws and they have wings. Similarity. Difference, one is black, one is light brown, and one is big, one is small. One's beak is long and this one's beak is small. So they would do in a chart, and the understanding was very clear. It became very clear. So Richard Pearson gave a very impressive title to this method. He called it Method of Comparison and Contrast. And Srimati Indira Gandhi, at that time Prime Minister of India, was put in touch with me while I was holding the class, directly through mental formulation. She looked at the board and she said, "Why are you teaching science in this way?" So I said, our mother had told us long back that the children learn with the help of their body. So we go like that, and we have to teach science in French. So they can't write full sentences in French. French is too difficult a language So we do like this, and I write on the board the words that they are saying. They said, both fly in the sky. I said, fly in the sky. And both have wings, yes, wings. So they wouldn't know how to write L, wings. So I write the word which I wrote in any direction, sometimes straight, sometimes slant, one below, one on top. But all the words were there. I had read in one American pedagogist's book that it is much more important for the child to write the correct spelling rather than be corrected and write 12 times the same word. It's much more important for the child to write straight away, and when the child has heard with his or her own ears the word 4 times, repeated by himself or herself, only then it becomes part of its vocabulary, not otherwise. It remains a correction by the teacher. It doesn't become part of their vocabulary. Only after the child has heard the word 4 times with his or her ear, it becomes part of his vocabulary. So for all these reasons, we devised the method of comparison and contrast. They would write a cat and a dog, similarities, both forepaws, tail, and all that. Differences, big, small, color, sound created. One barks, another does meow, and so on. That's how it paid off very well, because they understood the idea much more clearly. And later on, when they reached the higher secondary classes, teachers told me those children who had come through Richard Pearson and me understood the abstract ideas much more easily. Even idea of evolution they could catch more easily than the other children. So it paid off well.
I wanted to ask you also, because all these years you were teaching, and sometimes you were teaching the older students, what guidance did Mother give you? You must have met her frequently. You were in charge.
I was in charge of the school and with Tanmay in charge of the French Board of Studies. So Mother had told me, I told Mother, Mother, you often say, oh, that's literature. Ça, c'est de la littérature. Do you not want us to study literature? So Mother said, no, certainly. They'll have to study, but up to the age of 14, you have to give them very well-written texts from great authors. And so Tanmay, Padma, other teachers like Shanti Doshi, Victor Mariani, Preeti Dasgupta, we all chose passages that we thought were good, and Tanmay used to read them to Mother on Sunday mornings. And there were 1 or 2 which Mother liked very much, and he had to read it twice to her. And we made a whole set of selections. Unfortunately, I have not got a single of the copies. I made 18 sections you know, l'aurore, la lumière et l'espoir. Dawn, the light, and hope. That was one set of selections from different authors in a booklet form. We have got 18 booklets like that, thin booklets, about maximum 10 or 12 passages in each. And I will see, I will ask, they must be having in the school. I assure you I'll get the copies and we will see. And I kept one on Sri Aurobindo himself at the end. And I said, we have done something like an epic, there are 18 sections. My mother, who was in her room, heard me say that directly to Sri Aurobindo. Mother was so surprised. Mother said, what have you done through these 10 years? She didn't know that I could contact him directly and get his guidance and his blessing. On the 15th of August, I have lost quite a bit because somebody was very annoyed, tore the photograph away. On 15th of August last year, I folded my hands and I said, your birth anniversary day, sir. And we could see the hand in front of the photograph. Someone was so annoyed, he tore that photograph away from far. It is like that. Mother said to me, they have to read beautiful passages written by great authors, so we did these selections. But after the age of 14, if a child wants to know about the growth of the language or literature, then no nonsense about it. You have to go thoroughly, from medieval times to Renaissance to Romantic age to the modern age, go sequentially. Perhaps I should mention here a comment by Sri Aurobindo on French and Bengali. Someone was translating from Bengali into English something and said to Sri Aurobindo, it is very difficult. One language to another. Sri Aurobindo wrote back, if Tagore could have translated his own poems so admirably, why can't you? And Tagore, the book Gitanjali, he has translated into English as lyrical ballads.
Yes, you had told us. Yes.
I had told you. The one for which he had received the Nobel Prize.
Yes, please.
Did I tell you the story of what happened to him after that?
No.
He went back to Shantiniketan area. Tagore's father had had a vision when he used to meditate, Debendranath Tagore. He had a vision and he had like a downpour of higher light into him in the place where Shantiniketan stands. That is why Tagore chose that place. And they were rich people, his parents and grandparents. There was no Suez Canal at that time. So they had to go round the Cape of Good Hope to go to England. But they all spoke English and all because we were under the British. So they got a boat and they decided to go by boat around Cape Comorin and Cape of Good Hope. After crossing the Cape of Good Hope, while they were on at large, quite clearly only sea around, Rabindranath Tagore said, we should have a flag. So what sort of a flag? They said elephant. So they had a flag with an elephant. Only later on they saw that the African elephant is different from the Indian elephant, but they chose the elephant for their flag. And they would get down and cross, I think, over, I'm not very sure, on the shores of Egypt or somewhere. And from there they would cross the Mediterranean to reach France and then go to England. It was a long way, but the flag was the very interesting detail.
Did Mother give you guidance for teaching the older students?
There are a few things which are very important, that the language we use, we have to understand on reading. So we are there only with the word and our own mind. Whereas in a classroom, we are getting it from the teacher, even when we read. So there's an impression of the teacher is also conveyed. That is why we always paid a great importance. We considered it very important to be as clear and as impersonal as possible.
Impersonal.
Impersonal,
Yes.
Because then only the real significance of the text will dawn upon the child. Otherwise they'll say, our teacher said like that. So, and some other teacher will say something else, and some other adults will look at it from a different point of view. So this idea of the same thing seen from different angles is a very important issue. And the image given in painting of a solid object which, seen from one angle, gives you one figure, you draw it, then another angle, you get another form. The children's reactions to 2 or 3 different situations and texts come back to me, and I think I spoke of the street names the other day, but I don't remember if I spoke about the Bay of Bengal. Also, I have spoken
Yes.
about
You had
the Bay
mentioned
of Bengal in the Atlas.
Yes.
the child couldn't believe that the word Bay of Bengal written in the atlas was the same as the one they saw here. But for me personally, I stood quite for about half an hour at the seafront because I liked the universality of the spreading out waters. And then I'd look at the horizon and I just couldn't believe that it all went on and on and on. And I said, yes, but for us it stops there, but actually it goes on. And it was always a wonderment for me. Artist Anil Kumar, I don't know if you know Anil Kumar. Anil Kumar, Sanjeevan, Chinmayi Tasdar, and Krishnalal. These are artists who were, and Jayantilal, of course. And these are artists who were known as artists when we came here at first. And I used to love to draw. Whatever I'd see, I didn't know enough English or Bengali to write, but I would draw. So after we had come here, I went back and my parents laughed their heads off when they saw me drawing a well and a coconut palm. Those were two new things for me. I was 7 years old. So those two were new things for me, so I drew them. And the coconut palm remained a fanciful or fantastic thing for me. So when children were working with me, we used to go around, as I told you. And one day we came near a coconut palm and I said, you see, each line is for 1 year. Every year, one leaf falls. So they started counting and they said, 30. This tree has lived for 30 years. I said, yes. And it reminds me of myself as a young, I must say also small, little girl of 13 or 14. The school was where the bodybuilding gymnasium is now in the playground, or on the southern side of the playground.
Okay.
And mother used to stand in front of the mat where she was done. So at that time, we were taken by our teacher outside the classroom, which was great for us kids because we never left the classroom. And it brought us to this house, Nante, and where mother played table tennis. And he said...
Table tennis.
Table tennis.
Yes.
Mother used to play table tennis in sari. In sari. And I chose the coconut palm for my drawing, and somebody else chose the whole building for his drawing, so we were very happy that we left entirely to ourselves. Speaking of mother playing table tennis here, she used to come outside the ashram In earlier days, once a year only, or once a month, I'm not very sure. Yes, I think once in 3 weeks, or I'm not very sure, because I was told only this much by Shahada Devi, the vocalist, that Mother used to say which one of them would be accompanying her. So it was a great, great pleasure and a great blessing. And Pavitra used to drive the old car and which Mother had, and they would go around. And once when Mother went to a place, she was stopped by strange, there were two stories. One was the feathers of the chicken and cock, which were strewn all over the place. My mother hesitated to put her feet, and they said, "Oh, that." So Mother has written that they would just offer that at the altar and eat afterwards as a feast. Mother couldn't quite take it. And another time, there was personal resistance. So, Asura told Mother, if you don't disturb our work, you can go on. So, and a third story, this one you must be knowing, is of Ganesh.
Yes, I know this.
Mother was going up, and then she heard a thumping step behind her. She looked back and she saw it was Ganesh. He said, "So many people are coming to you. No one will come to pray to me now and worship me, this Ganesh temple." Mother said, "Assured, they'll come to pray to you." And Mother saw to it that this area remained enclosed for the temple of Ganesha here, this Ganesh. And there's one more story I remember half of a French gentleman who was swimming in the sea, and suddenly he was stopped by a strange figure, and it was a log of wood, and he got it afterwards cut in the shape of a deity and placed it, because to him it was like an intervention from higher planes. Like that, there are certain stories of that sort.
Yes.
You know, Harindranath Chattopadhyay was a brother to Sarojini Naidu.
Yes, I knew that, yes. I've read many of her poems.
And
I have read her poems,
oh,
and they're very beautiful, many of them.
and his other sister was here. She has Mrinalini Chattopadhyay. She was called afterwards Mrinalini Sinha. She was the headmistress of our school in Lahore. But Here, she had been here in the 1920s, and she was the first to get a National Value of Art and National System of Education, these two books published from Madras, because at that time there was no proper press here, in 1922. I had to learn all this for my students, to give the correct picture. Sri Aurobindo says, Harin's new poems are a little difficult to follow sometimes because they render a special form of experience. But they are very powerful and genuine. He has the eye of one who can see in the occult sense. This was written in September 1933.